Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, July 21st, 2025. So we start off with Gwen and Leo. So Leo was on the phone whining and complaining about how he has to do jury duty and he, can't fulfill his dreams of, winning the Pulitzer Prize or, Javi was saying, okay, maybe you can't do that, but maybe after it's all done, you can do a tell all book. So he was like, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. He tried to take credit for it himself. So anyways, he asked Lee if he can come home and watch the baby, and he said, yeah, because Javi's going on his shift. So Gwen comes over and, he's saying, I see you're strolling around the square with a stolen necklace. So she said, once again, I bought the necklace fair and square, and it's my right to wear wherever I please. So anyways, she said that she was going to go over to the spectators, see how it's really doing. She heard it's been doing badly since she, sold over her portion. And Leo saying that it actually has been going on better and better since she left. And he is now an investigative journalist, and she laughed at it because she's saying, he's just really a gossip queen. He's nothing more, nothing less. It's not really going up, the rate is not going up, but he proved to her that, look, the revenues are going up, and people are liking what I'm doing, so it seems to be working. So anyways, they talk about a personal note, how she is hurt by him still about what he did to her, stabbing her in the back by taking her husband and messing up her marriage. And then he's sorry about that. If he could crawl through glass, he would do that for her forgiveness. She says she would love to see that, but at the end of the day, the damage is done. So he's, you can tell that she's still hurt by it. And, he also talked about how, what is she up to in Salem, really? She said it's not only that she's there for the necklace, she's also had other loose ends she want to tie up. So he said to her that, look, whatever it is, illegal or legal, I don't want no parts in it. First, he wanted to know to like write an expose on it, but then afterwards he said, you know what, I don't want no parts of it at all, but what I can do is write a piece on you going into the cinema with Xander, and what are you doing with him after what he did to you? I was there for it all. So she said, like, yeah, like, I was definitely hurt by Xander when Xander left me for Sarah, but I definitely, the most I've been hurt is through you, right? So Gwen clearly has a lot of baggage and a lot of, unhealed wounds. And as much as I feel sorry for her for what Leo did to her, like, at the end of the day, is either she can forgive him or just let it be and just be cordial, because he's sorry for what he did, and he did a very messy thing. But should he have to pay for it all the time? No. And she's also, wishing him, she did sincerely wish him the best with Javi, because he's moved on, and because he was saying, Dimitri did them both dirty, so he didn't, left off with a fortune. He got a Dear John letter, but at the same time, like, he's moved on, he's better now, and she can see that he's happier, and she just wishes him the best with that. I guess she said, you're so lucky to have that. She wishes that she has that. But I'm saying, Gwen, no one's standing in your way of finding true happiness. Yes, you have Dimitri's fortune, but it's not the key to happiness, and you're there plotting and scheming on what you're gonna do to ruin other people's lives and being in Salem. But like, girl, you need to get some therapy and do some healing, because this petty Betty victim thing, it is just played out. It's pathetic at the end of the day, if that's what you're really coming to Salem for. So back to Holly and Ari. So they're trying to figure themselves out, not waiting for help to come around. They're trying to help themselves. So at some point, Holly used her bobby pin, but that didn't work to open the door. So Ari, moved around, and she sees a vent behind the box. So they move the box, and she decides to go in and see if there's an out part of it. So she goes in, and she's getting claustrophobic and she's panicking. Holly's telling her to breathe and just take some deep breathing exercise and just relax. So at some point, Tate does come in and rescue Holly. He knocked down the door because he heard the screaming from both of them. So he knocks down the door, and and he hugs Holly and everything. So he asks where Ari is, and she tells him. So now they're just waiting on Rafe to come about, because Rafe is also on the scene as well. Back to Gabby and Xander. So Xander is there comforting her and telling her that it's all gonna be all right. And I definitely like seeing between them because they were very in tune. The chemistry, even though it was really on a sadder note, I like the chemistry between them. I'm here for it. I could see it happening, but we all know they're gonna put back Xander and Sarah, so whatever. So anyways, she's saying, I feel like a terrible mother, that I wasn't there for in the beginning stages, and she's just beating up herself. And Xander saying, look, you're a great mother. Don't beat yourself up, and things will be okay. She will definitely come home to you. And she encourages him too regarding his situation with Sarah and Victoria as well. So he tells her to go home and to really just rest up, because they can't really conduct the meeting with her in that emotional state, right? At some point, she comes out and Philip sees her in tears, and Philip is like, what's going on? So she's like, I can't really talk right now. Philip comes in and he's trying to say, what did you do to Gabby? And he's like, you're assuming that I did do something to her, and he's saying like, she's in tears and all that. So anyways, the banter between the two brothers. Same old, same old. So earlier, Philip and Johnny were talking, and Johnny has his trial coming up the next day, and he tells Philip that, he's definitely going to need some more weeks off, and he has to go to HR. So Philip said that he would do that on his behalf, and he just wishes him the best. He believes him that he wouldn't shoot his father. So, Johnny appreciates that, and he tells Johnny that, look, his job is not on the line. And I'm saying, boy, Johnny is like a cat with 9 lives, because this boy barely started working at Titan not too long ago, and the amount of time off and days off and call outs that he has gotten, it's certainly a privilege, especially that he's not even Titan family. He's at their mirror. He's an outsider, quote unquote. So it's just mind boggling to me. But anyways, he comes in because he has to record the PR statement between Philip and Xander. And Xander at first, skeptical about Johnny even working there in the beginning. He thought that he was on the outs with his father, and then now that he's back in terms with his father, and he's on this trial, maybe it's not a good look for the company. He doesn't know if he's loyal. And Johnny said, look, even though we're on the up and up again, doesn't mean that my loyalty should be questioned towards Titan and this company and you. So he said, I find that hard to believe. And Philip is saying that, no, give him a shot. He has a lot of good ideas for the company. He has the experience. We can definitely need good HR and PR right now, considering our fragility as brothers and, the company stability and everything, right? So Xander agrees with it, and he reluctantly agrees with it. And then, Johnny is recording them, and, they are acting the part as, brothers in tune and in harmony, and they're smiling and, hugging each other. You can tell Xander is definitely uncomfortable on the inside. So he records it, said that he's going to edit it and send it to them for approval, right? So he leaves, and Philip wishes him the best on his trial, right? So anyways, at some point, Victoria's there crying, and Philip is just making remarks about how she needs to go back with her mother. She is stuck in a mini cage or mini prison, and he's like, watch how you talk about my daughter and everything. And he's saying that he's trying to have a daycare up and running, but the license is taking place, taking long. And then Philip said, just bring her back to her mother. Like, think about what's best for Victoria. And I have to agree with Philip, like, this is not working out because she's miserable there in the office. No baby wants to be in the office the whole day cooped up. There's nothing much to do. She can use her mother or time with her grandmother or something, like make it more balanced. But again, Xander is just being Xander sometimes. And then Philip leaves because, again, he's getting on the Xander's skin, and Xander's like, I can't ship him off to Hong Kong. I can't smother him with a pillow. I guess we have to find some creative way to get rid of him, right? And says that if you don't just put your feelings aside and work with Philip, because again, he's not going nowhere. So you guys have to get it together. So earlier, Tate and Rafe were out at the warehouse location because Felicity gave Tate the ring on Friday's episode, and he was able to pinpoint location where they could possibly be. So Rafe also had the intel from Kat earlier. So he thought that it was a gunman coming up on him, but it turns out to be Rafe. So he was startled by Rafe. So Rafe said, "What are you doing here?" So he tells Rafe what's going on. He shows him the ring, and Rafe also said that he got some information, so they could be here, right? So Tate wanted to help with the investigation or to find them. So Rafe is saying, "Look, I got my guys in there. If anything, just tell them that I'm in the warehouse and you know where to find me. So you need to stay put and everything." So we know that civilians don't like to stay put or don't listen. So Tate, he runs off and, fortunately, he finds the girls before Rafe could have gone into there. So Gabby comes home and sees Javi, and can tell that something is going wrong because he knows that she was there for a meeting, but she said it got canceled. So he's like, "What happened?" So she said that Ari's missing. So he embraces her. And, I'm just not buying Gabby's raw emotion. I think she could have been a lot more emotional regarding the missing daughter and everything. Like, there was no tears. She just, was making a face, and that was really it. I don't know, if my daughter was missing, I definitely would have had more expression, more emotion. But everybody is different, I guess. But anyways, he hugs her and tells her that, "Look, just stay positive. I'm gonna do what I have to do. I'm gonna go into work early, see what I can find out, see if I can help in any way. Just stay with the baby until Leo gets there, right?" So she says, "Yes, thank you. I definitely need all the help that I can receive," right? So she talks to the baby and says how, like his mother, she was young and she was not really involved in Ari's life, her formative years, and she just wishes that she could have been there more. But she definitely loves her daughter and she just wants her to come home, right? So Leo comes home and, he heard about what happened with Ari because Javi texted him. So she, welcomes him and she said, "Thank you for, your kind words." And, definitely in distress right now. And he definitely gets it. So she gets a phone call from Javi. Javi said that they found Ari and Holly and that he's on his way to the location to see what he can find out. So she said, "Once you get eyes on her, just call me." So he's like, "I will." So Leo is saying like, "Can I hug you?" So she's like, "Yes." So, it was definitely a beautiful scene between them because you know how there's always, these banter between them. But I like how this is going and hopefully it keeps up. They could be definitely some kind of frenemies. I would definitely appreciate it. But I like the scene. It was touching. At some point she was not there. So he was talking to the baby. Well, he was on the phone with Doug and he's like, "Doug, how come you didn't tell me that the woman that you were messing with was my boyfriend's cousin? Like, if this comes back to me and Gabi finds out that I was working with you and then you had this involvement, then I don't know how it's gonna turn out." But Leo, it's best you just be honest. And at the end of the day, in all honesty, you did not know that Doug was messing around with Javi's cousin. You didn't know that at first, right? So best to be honest, because if Javi finds out and Gabby and all of that, then it's gonna be a whole big mess. So better to be honest, right? So Holly is outside with Tate outside of the warehouse and she thanks him for being her here, and he's like, "It's nothing." And she said that, "No, you kicked down the door and you knew where to come look for us, and I'm really appreciative of you." So he is just glad that she's okay. He'll do anything for her. So they're just waiting on news from Ari. So Rafe did come out and tell them the news about Ari, which we'll get into in a moment. So he asked Holly if she can make a statement at the police station. So Tate is like, "Right now?" So Holly said, "It's okay. I really need to make my statement." So she goes down there and she thanks Tate again for being there for her. And then at some point Tate gets a phone call. Well, he listened to the voicemail from Sophia, and Sophia saying that she's in labor. So he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is happening while I'm here." So let's see how this is going to unfold because this is not going to be really good for him. So Gabby is on her way to the area because at this time, Ari fell through the vent and, Rafe rescued her. She's a little bit beaten up and I guess low on oxygen. So Javi came there at the location. He's there doing his medic work on her and she's, conscious and he has a mask on her. So he's telling her to breathe and Gabby comes in and Gabby's like, "Oh my gosh, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" So Ari at some point says, "Mom, I'm sorry for everything that I caused you." So she's like, "No need to apologize. Not your fault." So she said, I love you, and she returned the I love you. So I guess it was a humbling moment for Ari, and that she needs her mom and her mom needs her. And it was a definitely great moment to see them bonding again, and she appreciates her uncle and her cousin for being there as well, right? So I mean, that was what happened today's episode. I mean, I think I covered everything if I can recall. Let me know in the comments anything else that you probably have seen. Let me know how you think about today's episode. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow.